Welcome to the D&D Fitness Radio Podcast, brought to you by your hosts, Don Saladino from New York City and Derek Hansen from Vancouver, Canada. In Episode 9, we broadcast directly from the NFL Combine in Indianapolis and discuss the role of attitude and ability in sport and fitness.
How's it going at the Combine, bro?
It's always interesting. Like, I had to do a presentation yesterday, and I think there were probably 100 people in the room, and I had a couple of PhD doctor guys before me. So I'm thinking I'm the dumbest guy in the room.
Did they beat you up, or were you good?
No, it was good. There was no standing ovation or anything like that, and there were a few questions. But it's funny when you do a presentation and I'm just looking for something in people's faces like, oh, this is good information or something. And everybody had a poker face, right? So sometimes that's good. I guess it's better than people having angry looks on their face or disappointed looks. It was just
or annoyed looks. Looks saying, I love when they start challenging you. That's always the best.
That didn't happen, thank goodness. So I'm just trying to take it all in and go, okay, this was good experience. I got to meet some different people. Some people from different teams came up and asked me questions after. So that's all you can hope for, right? It's just some sort of interaction amongst people, and then maybe something will come of it, and I'll talk to more people through the week. But we'll see.
So is the Combine in full effect right now?
Not really. This is just all what ends up happening is the actual medicals start Wednesday, Thursday. They'll do medicals, and then they'll start in with the test towards the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and even into next week. So right now it's kind of all the different staff will have their conferences, their meetings. So the strength coaches will meet tomorrow,
right,
for a professional development session in which Rob Panarello is going to be speaking at too.
I love Rob. He's all good. Tell him I said hello.
Yeah, so they have a dinner tonight, and yesterday I presented to the athletic trainers, and I think there's little trade shows going on and people trying to sell stuff, and so it's a big sort of build up. I guess they just figure this is a good time to have all their meetings and everybody gets together. And so it's cool. That's, everything here is all decked out and, so.
Looks like my office.
Yeah. You got all your celebrities on the wall and,
I see it.
Doing great stuff. So
I see it.
It's a cool environment. I really, I wanted to talk to you about even the whole idea of identifying talent. It's interesting. It's a very isolated situation. It's like if you had to work with, a new client and you get them in one time, how much information can you get off of seeing them do a couple exercises? And this is all
more than people think. It's funny. I never have a problem with, I think I'm in a much different situation than, say, these teams because, they're looking for a combination of talent and attitude. With me, talent's kind of irrelevant. You got to deal with what you're given with. So if you have someone coming to you for a movie role and, they can't touch their toes or they can't walk in a straight line, that's the hand I'm dealt with. I've got to deal with it. These teams can just cut you. So it's really, really simple. What I really look for is, I'm at the point in my career right now, it really comes down to attitude. And I've had, early on in my career, you're taking on clients who you don't necessarily want to take. I'm being honest, but you have to take because you got to pay bills, and they just have poor attitudes. They don't necessarily want to be there. They're always complaining about something. They're arguing about price. All this negative stuff where they're just basically telling you that they don't value you and they don't understand the value. They're looking at you as just a trainer, as someone who's just assigning them exercises. I think what we do is, it's a lot more different. I think it's coaching is, I think as we've been discussing with Brett Bartholomew, coaching is an art. And, it's at the point now where if I get a client in here and they're complaining or they're late or they're canceling or this and that, I just won't take them. I hand them off. For me, attitude is everything. I mean, I've been doing this professionally for 20 years. And if you want to come in and you want to work with me, I'm expecting you to, put in the effort. And if you don't want to do that, then don't waste my time. Go work with someone else. And I know that sounds terrible, but, life is too short at this point. And part of what I do, a big reason what I do, why I got into doing this wasn't because of a multi-million-dollar paycheck. I mean, we don't make that type of money. I mean, I got into what I'm doing now because I get motivated by people who are trying to make change and who are trying to improve and who are trying to get better. And to be honest, if you're someone who just says you want to get better, but you really don't, which is a lot of people that we come across, then I really prefer you go work with someone else.
Yeah. Do you ever find that, like, I know in this situation, there's all these different things that they're looking at. So they're looking at, are these people healthy? Are the athletes talented? Do they have the athletic ability? And then there's the attitude piece you were talking about.
Right.
And I know sometimes people will overlook certain parts of character or attitude because somebody has so much talent and they think that they can benefit from that. I mean, do you find yourself in those situations?
Yeah, first off, I think that's wrong. I mean, there's so many players, whether it's in the NFL or NBA or MLB, who are there and they're lucky to be there and they have poor attitudes. And my outlook on it is there's a young kid out there that's hungry. There's a young athlete out there that can hit 30 home runs, that can bat over 300, that hasn't had that opportunity. And the fact that these organizations actually put up with this behavior, I don't understand it. I mean, you've got these team owners who pretty much every one of them is a billionaire. You've got organizations that aren't going anywhere. I mean, they're here to stay. Yet they put up with, cancerous attitudes in that organization just because they can score a couple extra touchdowns than your average player. And I'm just not. I'm not bought into it. I don't think anyone's worth, that. At what cost do you keep a player? I understand a young athlete makes a mistake, and you got to slap him on the hand and hit him with a fine. But when you see this repeated attitude over and over, I think you just cut him. I think you just set an example to the other players in the league and just say, all right, well, he or she's out of here and let's move on. And I understand it's not that easy. I understand you have the players unions and you got, owners who are willing to put up with these types of attitudes. But, like I said, in our business, it's a little bit different, but it still is pretty similar.
Yeah. And has there been a case in your, at your club where you've had somebody come in and they do have a shitty attitude and then you've taken the time to kind of cultivate maybe a better attitude and you've educated them and they've turned around?
Yeah, you know what? When you're getting someone coming in here in their 40s and 50s, which typically are our demographics between 35 and 55, when you have someone at that age, I mean, it's common that we could change them physically, but from an attitude standpoint, I understand what we do. It can give them confidence, or what we do can help them live a happier, more fruitful life. But when it comes down to attitude and respecting the job that we're doing, a lot of times the answer is no. I mean, these are demons people have been carrying their whole life, or this is, an outlook someone has on life, or just a way that they might talk to people in general. I mean, it's tough. I mean, I'm not a miracle worker here. I mean, it's one thing to turn around and allow someone to lose 100 pounds or to get them, ready for a movie role. But, a lot of times fortunately, we're not faced with that a lot. I mean, I think the club that I own here, Drive 495, I think it's a much different animal, because I think the people here are very successful. I think what they are is they are very confident, and 99% of them in here, I think, are just really great people. I mean, yeah, you get your occasional person who comes in here and they whine and they bitch and they complain. and on them, that's pretty tough to change.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of the same in this situation where, they're younger people, they're younger athletes, and you want to give them some time to grow and mature. But professional sports, it's not about the long term. A lot of time it's now, what can you do for me now?
Right.
So I think that's why you get these GMs and maybe the coaches pulling the trigger a little too quick and going, oh well, that's what he can give us now because we got to win now. The timelines seem to be shrinking in professional sports. You got to show what you can do in 1 year, 2 years. They're not going to give you 4 years. So.
I get it, and that's why, again, it's a little bit of a different animal. I just think that at the end of the day, it's like if I deal with CEOs or you're dealing with professional athletes or vice versa, everyone's replaceable. It's Steve Jobs, one of the most brilliant men that we've ever seen. At one point, Apple thought he was replaceable. He passed away. He's been replaced. And it sounds like a really harsh thing to say. I'm replaceable. You're replaceable. Any professional athlete out there is replaceable. So, I don't like it when people are given an opportunity to go into a situation and really thrive. Yet they're not acting as if they have a responsibility besides playing the sport or besides starting up a company to uphold. And I think a lot of times people lose track of that. And even with the CEOs, a lot of them are so used to walking into their own hub and their own, confinement that they forget out there that some people don't know who they are, and nor do they really care. Same with the athletes. You're walking, into a press conference every day, or you're walking in your locker room and everyone's all over you. At a specific point, you become a little jaded and you start forgetting that there are people out there that don't know who you are. And I think that's just called reality. I think it's just called, getting brought back to reality and understanding that, you're not bigger than the game, and attitude for me is everything. I mean, 10 out of 10 times, I'm going to go with the less talented guy with the better attitude. I just am. I believe in heart. I have that Rocky type belief where, I believe you can, if someone's got that heart and has that good attitude, that's infectious to your team around you. And they will learn the craft and they will improve and they will get better. They may not be as good, but who knows if that's, you've seen it in organizations. The best player on specific teams aren't always the best thing for that team because of their attitude. I'll bring his name up. We saw with Alex Rodriguez. I mean, one of the best players in baseball, that when he went to the Yankees organization, I mean, he was a little bit of a cancer. He literally, was strumming up some problems. You hear stories about Jeter not liking him not liking Jeter, not a great locker room guy, the whole steroid stuff, but the guy can hit the baseball. So is he better off with the organization or without? Was he a success or was he a failure? I mean, they thought he was going to come aboard that Yankee team and win 4 or 5 championships. He won 1. So what is it really? Would the Yankees have been better with a third baseman that was maybe a little less talented, but became the heart and soul of that team? Was a gritty type player who would dive and, even when he would ground out, was hustling to first base. What's better for that organization? And, you really can't answer that question because it's different with every organization.
Yeah, and I know you, like myself, I think we see ourselves a bit as educators and teachers. And, I know when I work with people, if they do have some character flaws or they, I'm always trying to facilitate a process that makes them better. And do you find yourself doing that where you're like, okay, maybe this person is bitching and complaining about, whatever, exercise or this person or that person. I know you always try to keep things positive. Are you kind of helping to facilitate an improvement even on that character?
Yeah, listen, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I'm still, I still always, deep down inside, I'm always hoping I can change everyone. I mean, with the comment I passed earlier, it was just the reality that you just can't. I've got a woman right now. She's someone I worked with for a while, and she's just kind of all over the map. And, I'm struggling to lock her down, and she's got bad eating habits in the evening, and she says she wants to change, but she doesn't want to change. A lot of it's a power trip, and obviously not mentioning her name, but this is a problem. Does she want to get better? The answer is she says she wants to get better, but she doesn't want to get better. So for me, that's it's a difficult thing to swallow. I mean, you got to admit, as a coach, part of why you do what you do is because you believe you can change people and you can help people. And when it comes to the reality that you just can't with everyone, I mean, it's a tough pill to swallow, but that's life. You can change everyone. No one has ever done it. No coach has ever been 100% successful. No trainer has ever been 100% successful. These fitness stars on TV now, these training regimens that, are supposedly so great, people fail at. They just don't show the failures. They always show the successes. Yeah. Which I think is a bad example also. Different conversation.
Yeah, like I was telling you earlier, I'm presenting, some of my material to 32 teams, 100 people in the room. I know, and maybe I'm just more insecure, but I know that probably 70% of the people in that audience, maybe more, are not going to do anything that I say.
Sure.
and I'm okay with that, right? But I think you're right. I think there's going to be a certain segment of the population, a majority of the population, who are just, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm doing okay. I don't need to change. And yeah, I think it's still tough. I find it still tough to accept that that's the way people are. But, I mean, hey, I got 30% of those guys that do come up and talk to me and ask me more questions. So
I still think 30% is a good number. I mean, when I got into this business 20 years ago, I mean, there's this period of time where you're trying to be the smartest guy in the room. You're trying to learn more than the next guy. And, then you start realizing that you start getting to a specific point, a specific level in your career where if you start talking to people as if you were talking to yourself, you're going to lose a lot of people. And I don't mean from like an intellectual standpoint. I mean from like a fitness standpoint. If I turn around right now and I tell the guy next door that he's got to train like me, eat like me, and rest and recover like me, he's going to walk out of the room. He's going to say that's ridiculous. So, part of it also is as you become more knowledgeable, understanding who the target audience is out there, understanding that when I'm dealing with a Ryan Reynolds, yeah, there's a certain conversation I can have with him. He gets it. We've been working together 8-9 years. He understands his body. I can throw really, really complex stuff at him. When I'm on social media trying to educate the masses out there, yeah, we're going to start, a lot of the questions come about that people just don't know, that they don't know the answers to, and they shouldn't. It's not devaluing their, how smart they are. It's really just the fact that this isn't what they do. Fitness isn't what they do. They don't understand about organic foods or organic farming. They don't understand how much water they should be drinking a day. Specific things that for you and I might seem so easy, people won't get. Now, on the other hand, I can walk into Barclays right now and start looking at the ticker board and start looking at different stock symbols and this and that. And some stuff I might know, but 80% of it, I'm like, oh my God, this is like, what are futures? What's this? What's that type of thing? And people, and that's fine. It's just not the environment that I've been in. So I think a lot of our responsibility is understanding the target demographic and understanding how to speak to that audience. Because I see it every day. I see it with coaches in here. They'll turn around and they start having a conversation, and then people just turn white. I mean, they're literally they don't understand anything that they're saying. And to me, that's sad, because here you have someone who's so smart, yet they just can't communicate the message and they can't downplay it.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing about the whole social media thing, and I see how you're navigating it. And when you put out information, what kind of response do you get? Like, how do you measure the response? Is it based on, how you present it? Is it based on the type of exercise? And I know you're watching this and looking at the feedback and trying to figure out what people like, what people want. And then do you change your behavior? Do you just keep putting it out there? And
It's like a little bit of both. I mean, listen, I posted a video the other day of me doing a glute bridge. Now, I posted videos of glute bridges 1,000 times, but I can't stop doing that just because I'm sick of it, or because, or because the people that I know are close to me are going to look at it and say, oh, well, I've seen that before. Like, I've got 35,000 new followers since 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
On my Instagram. There's a lot of people on there. Now, you take that 35 who've never seen my social, plus, out of the additional 100,000 people, maybe only 2,000 of them saw it. So right now we're looking at about, 125,000, whatever the math is on that, 25,000 people who've never seen the glute bridge. So, and this is what happens. You go in and you speak to a group of people. I do it at Perform Better, and you feel like you're giving the same talk over and over because you recognize 1% of the room. Well, what about the other 99%? Don't neglect them. Don't just change up your talk or make things different because you have to entertain yourself. And I think that's what happens with a lot of coaches. It's okay to be repetitive. When I went and I listened to Tony Robbins speak several times, there were a lot of the same jokes. There were a lot of the same examples. It was like, by the third time, I was like, all right, I've heard this talk before. But you're looking at the other, 99% of the people in the room with their jaws to the floor, and they haven't. So, that's Tony turning around and speaking to his audience. Yeah. Not where it's like, oh, I got to come up with some different shit. And the next thing you know, he's confusing the crap out of people. Serious.
How did, what kind of reaction did you get from your Muscle and Fitness cover? That was awesome, by the way.
It was great. It felt like almost a birthday. I mean, I got reached out to by people that I haven't heard from in years. And, it really was. It was a lot of work, but it wasn't, 4 to 5 weeks of work. This has been my entire, career. This has been a lot of dedication. This has been, moments where you're out eating dinner with people and you're not, you're sticking to the plan, and it's not easy to get in that type of shape. But also, there's millions of people out there that look like me or could have gotten on that cover that just aren't being recognized. And this is getting back to that example of, I'm never going to take that for granted. That was the second cover I've ever been on. I'm hoping that there are more to come. And it was a great feeling. But if I'm walking around at any moment thinking that, my shit doesn't stink, then, that's wrong. I could be replaced in 2 seconds. I really got to thank, two guys for making that cover possible. One of my buddies who passed away, Sean Perrine, who, I mentioned it in my post, and the new chief editor, Zach. These guys made that happen for me. They believed in me. But listen, at any point, if I had a bad attitude, I'm replaced. No one's going to miss me. So, I just wish more people took that attitude in life, in sports, when they walk into the gym. We're all very lucky. If you're listening to this podcast right now, you're above land, and you're pretty lucky to have that privilege to be in your car or to have your iPhone or be able to afford it to listen or to just have the ability to be able to improve or want to improve. That in itself, I think, is just a gift. So I don't know, man. It was a great milestone for me, but I definitely not for 1 second take it for granted.
Yeah, I know. I'm using it as motivation because my kids see the picture of you. There was a video of you. They're like, Dad, your arms aren't big enough. You gotta look like Uncle Don here.
I love it. I love that they call me Uncle Don. They should maybe we come out with a Derek Hansen track and the Derek Hansen running and arm routine. That would make no sense. It's amazing. I love it. And then obviously I'm excited about it. It's been great for my business, and it's just been a lot of fun to see. So
that's great. Yeah. So I figure it was a good time for us to kind of catch up.
Yeah, done.
I'm in Indianapolis, and
Look
you're
at
on the cover of Muscle and Fitness, so I think we're doing okay, Don.
And I'm eating broccoli right now because I got to get my meal in. People will understand. I'm going to start. At first, I was like, I'm not going to eat when I'm on these podcasts, but I'm eating half my day anyway, so why am I going to fake this? I got to do what I got. So what's on your agenda next?
I gonna do a couple more days here, meet some more people, going to the strength coaches dinner tonight.
That'll be cool.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing here is in pro sports, you know how it is. It's a bit of a revolving door, so there's new people coming in. I'm amazed to see some of the people that I met yesterday have been in the NFL for like 35, 40 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I'm like, wow, that's a long time, right? So they don't know any different, but yeah, I don't know. It's it's nice to be in this environment. I don't know if I could live in this environment, but it's definitely nice to kind of step into it once in a while and get a taste of it. But it is what it is. It's a bit of fantasy land, right? Fantasy football. Football itself is a fantasy. So
It's like my last week in Disney. It was Fantasyland, man. You're getting into the beautiful weather and your kids are happy and everyone's happy, and then you get back to New York and it's freezing and pissing all over you, and you're like, all right, enough.
Yeah, there's something to be said for grinding and having a little bit of suffering, and that's part of life. So, and that's why the training part, even for the general population, is important. I mean, that's a different type of grinding. It's a different type of, I mean, you and I think it's enjoyable to train, but a lot of people don't.
I know, but that's what I'm talking about. That's who we should be talking to.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a Charlie Weingroff, then yeah, continue to coach coaches. You can coach coaches. I can coach coaches, but that's not my demographic. I'm not up there to reteach the FMS or up there to turn around and say, oh, this is the best. This is why my training methodology is better. And this is why you need to follow what I'm doing or make it this competition. I'm up there to use my personality, my social following, my influence, whether it's with celebrities, whoever it might be, to speak to the masses and try and move the needle on a larger scale. Now, at Drive 495, it's the other way around. I'm focusing on a very small elite group. But if I can get out there and help get 99% of the people off the couch, then we're doing better by this world. And we're doing better by people. And when I took that woman from 872 pounds and now she just weighed in yesterday at 435 pounds, we're changing lives here. So I think it really comes down to not what's the right thing to do, but what do you want to do? Charlie's an educator. Charlie will go in and Charlie's going to, with his T=R and, speaking to coaches and flying all over the world and educating people on a very elite level. You doing the same. That's a special niche market. There's so many coaches out there that want to do that, and they don't have the ability. They don't have the outreach. They don't have the personality to do that. It takes more than just knowledge. I think as a coach, you got to recognize what route you have to go in, and you got to go for it.